This was Mike Tyson's 18th professional fight against Jesse Ferguson, who was, I think, 14-1 at the time. He just lost a couple fights earlier to Carl the Truth Williams. This was Mike Tyson's first proper step up, or first proper fight, actually. The first time he fought somebody that actually had a pulse, because his previous 17 fights had all been cream puffs, knockover jobs. They stepped him up here and he passed the test with flying colors. Now, I didn't see this fight live. I watched this fight on videotape several years after it happened, truth be told. The first Mike Tyson fight I ever saw was the first Frank Bruno fight. And I saw that, obviously, when it happened. Then I went back after that and was getting videotapes from friends and all that kind of business, watching Mike Tyson. One of the videotapes I got was kind of was it a documentary, or I don't know how you would describe it. Not really a documentary, but it was like a compilation called Mike Tyson's Greatest Hits. And there was a documentary as well. In fact, there were several documentaries about Mike Tyson, which came out from the late 80s through to the early 90s and mid 90s. But yeah, the first time I saw Tyson was the Bruno fight. But afterwards, I started seeing more and more of Tyson's earlier fights. And this right here against Jesse Ferguson, to me, was one of the most impressive, because the speed which I saw from Mike Tyson in this fight was terrifying. Because you're not just talking about a guy who hit very hard and who was elusive and who had, good fundamentals for his particular style. Now, there are certain issues with the Customado style. There are certain weaknesses. Let me not say, well, you could call them issues, but there are certain weaknesses with the style. But, there's positive and negative to each thing. One of the things which the Customado style has is you tend to fight quite square. And you deal with the fact that you're a bigger target because you're standing square by moving your head side to side, by fighting out of a crouch, etc. That square stance that Customado fighters typically have is to enable them to get hooks off from both hands very, very quickly. Because if you think when you're standing more side on and your left shoulder is forward and your right hand and your right foot is more further back, there's more distance between your right hand and the opponent's head than there would be if you're standing more square. You're in his face, you're bobbing and weaving, you're side to side in your head movement. Your right hand is right there in front of your face and close to his head. So this is one of the reasons why the Customado fighters would stand a lot more square than with a typical boxing stance. But anyway, let me not get into that too much. Mike Tyson, Jesse Ferguson, he was having a couple issues, I think, early on with Ferguson's jab and movement. Ferguson, again, was only a young pro himself, 14-1. And actually, Ferguson was more impressive in the gym. If you ever watch Mike Tyson sparring Jesse Ferguson, there are many, many YouTube videos which you can watch, particularly on a channel called Boxing Hall of Fame Las Vegas. I think that's a channel run by Steve Lott. I think it used to be called Steve Lott, that YouTube channel, but he changed it to Boxing Hall of Fame Las Vegas, unless somebody else has taken over the channel. I don't know. But you can find many, many sparring sessions on there between Tyson and Ferguson. And I'm telling you, Ferguson is schooling Mike Tyson at some of them sparring sessions. So he was a notorious gym fighter, actually, Jesse Ferguson. He would often perform far better in the gym than he ever did in a pro ring. But here he was relatively inexperienced against Tyson. He was a guy who was probably going to end up being a journeyman. And this performance here against Tyson, where he ended up quitting in the end. Well, actually, no, he didn't quit. Well, you could say he quit because he held on for so long that he got disqualified. So essentially, yeah, he did quit. But they eventually changed it to a TKO for Tyson because they wanted to continue his knockout streak, because he was trying to break Rocky Marciano's knockout streak record. So they, boxing politics got involved and they got it changed from a DQ to a TKO. But anyway, early in the fight, Jesse Ferguson was using his jab, moving around, all that kind of stuff. Tyson eventually got to him, managed to pin him on the ropes, And this was not the particular moment. It was a couple rounds later where he pinned him in the corner here, and he landed what would become his signature punch, which was a right hand to the body followed by an uppercut. And he threw it with devastating effect at Mike Tyson. Tremendous speed on it, tremendous velocity, busted Jesse Ferguson's nose. His nose was absolutely pouring with blood as he went down to the canvas. And it was one of them shots where it looked like Jesse Ferguson went down more out of pain than, or just as much out of pain as he did from the concussive effect of the punch. Because it must have been tremendously painful to be hit like that in his nose, right on the bridge of the nose with that kind of force. His nose was leaking all over the place. He got up, and that is where Mike Tyson turned into a wild animal. I mean, he unloaded everything on Jesse Ferguson. Ferociously fast, vicious punches. It is one of the most impressive salvos you'll ever see from a heavyweight. I mean, when Mike Tyson let loose in that Jesse Ferguson fight, it was frightening. I was sat there with my jaw dropped. I couldn't believe the speed at which he was throwing these punches. And one of the things that was so impressive about Mike Tyson, just from an athletic point of view, is that he wasn't just a heavyweight with fast hands like Muhammad Ali or many other heavyweights you've seen. He was a heavyweight who would throw incredibly fast punches, which were also incredibly powerful. These weren't pity-patty shots. And he was letting rip on Jesse Ferguson. And God only knows how Jesse Ferguson survived that round. I think it was the 5th round. God only knows how he survived that round. The way Mike Tyson was tearing into him. He looked like he'd been hit by a truck at the end of the fight. And for those of you looking to try and develop that kind of power and speed, look, you're obviously never going to be, most of you out there, you're never going to be anything like a Mike Tyson. But if you want to try and improve your power and speed so that you can punch fast, but also punch hard in those kind of fast combinations and salvos, I recommend hitting a maze bag, a big heavy maze bag. Now, they don't have them so much in gyms these days. Instead, they're being replaced by things like aqua bags. And aqua bags are good too, but maze bags are better when it comes to developing hooks and uppercuts and all that kind of stuff, and focus on power. That's the thing that you need to do. You need to focus on power, hitting the bag hard, but also hitting it fast. You need to practice shadow boxing where you're doing full rotation, punching through the target, punching through the invisible imaginary target. And I'm talking about you need to do that for hours on end. All right. This needs to be part of your daily training routine. Then when you go in the gym, focus on hitting the wall pads or wall bag, those fixed bags that are attached to the wall that don't go anywhere. Because the extra resistance is going to build up the muscles in your shoulder, the fast twitch muscle, all the muscles that you need for punching hard and punching through a target are going to be built up when you're hitting something like a wall target, a wall bag. All right. One of those bags that, comes out of the wall. You can hit it with hooks and uppercuts and stuff like that. Hit those and hit them hard. Don't throw pity-patty combinations. Load up and hit them hard, but also focus on your technique. The whole thing about developing punching power is you want to punch hard as hard as you possibly can, and then refine your technique over the years so that there's less tell on your power punches. So you're thinking about, using the fast twitch muscles in your hips to be able to rotate so that people don't see what you're doing with your arm and your shoulder isn't moving much until it's too late, for your opponent. But the movement is in your hips and in your legs. Bang. You know what I mean? I'm sounding like Teddy Atlas now. That's where it comes from. And as I say, if you do that and you work on these things, particularly on a maze bag or even an aqua bag, if you don't have a maze bag, I prefer maze bags because they're heavier. They offer more resistance. Sometimes hitting an aqua bag, depending on the size, because it will move around more, it gives people the illusion that they're actually punching hard. But if you hit a real heavy maze bag, it ain't going nowhere. It forces you to bend your knees more, rotate your hips more, get more snap in the shot. Do you know what I mean? And obviously it's building up the necessary muscles as well to increase your punching power over time. So I really used to like the old maze bags that gyms used to have. Anyway, getting into my trainer mode here. Mike Tyson against Jesse Ferguson. Obviously, we're not going to be able to get to the level of Mike Tyson and the kind of combinations he was able to reel off, but closer to that than we are at the moment, right? That's what we're aiming to do. And he let rip on Jesse Ferguson with just a vicious salvo. And as I say, in the next round, Jesse Ferguson came out only to hold on and survive, and really with the intention of getting himself disqualified, which he successfully managed to do. And Mike Tyson was declared the winner. So for me, this was one of Mike Tyson's most memorable fights. It's a fight I still go back to watch from time to time, particularly the finish, because it's just so brutal. Well, not just necessarily the finish, but the round before when he knocks Ferguson down with the uppercut, then Ferguson gets up and Tyson tries to finish him. It's just so impressive seeing a guy of that size, that muscularity, with that type of speed and viciousness. And he just attacks this guy relentlessly. I mean, Mike Tyson back then, I think he was 19 years old for this Jesse Ferguson fight. The amount of energy he had was incredible because he could throw vicious combinations like that and then come out the next round and he still got more energy. So, yeah, anyway, trip down memory lane for you guys. Mike Tyson versus Jesse Ferguson. I will do more of these for many other fighters, going back down memory lane and recounting some of their great fights. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. What are some of your favorite fights from Mike Tyson and why? Let me know, people. What's happening them out. Hatman merch is now available. We got t-shirts, vests, hoodies, and more. Just click the link below. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.